Good evening, welcome. My name's Duncan McQueen. I'm the acting principal here at St Kindergan College. And I have to say welcome to all of you. Kia ora, welcome along. Tonight is our first ever live webinar to parents. Last week, we actually did another first. We did our first ever live Teams link to our students, our middle school students who are off-site doing their remote learning, distance learning, and myself and Mr. Lidstone, we set up and we actually spoke to over 400 students in their homes just to give them an update as we prepared for the return of middle school students. And I'll come back to that. But tonight is something different. We're trying out Teams Live. It's a bit different. If those of you in business will know Teams meetings. Teams Live is different again. It doesn't have quite the same sense of you can only see me on your screen, but in fact, there is the opportunity to use the chat function, which Mr. Lidstone may make reference to shortly. But Teams Live is a way which you can communicate with up to over 1,000 people simultaneously, wherever they are globally. Well, we hope you're in Auckland, actually, and maybe I shouldn't hope that, but you're here and you'll be joining us next year. And thank you for doing so. Tonight, we hope to provide some insights and some information, and just to get you a bit more informed, a bit more about what's in line for your sons and daughters as they join us in 2022. In terms of time frame, we'd like to think we could get through this in about 30 minutes. We don't want to go much longer than that because I think if you're anything like our students, attention span when you're sitting at home in front of a screen, it's quite challenging. And I'm afraid you really only got two faces to look at tonight, myself and Mr. Lidstone, together with a PowerPoint that he has put together, which will highlight teaching and learning and the use of the computer within the classroom. So hopefully you can sit down, buckle in and enjoy that. Just a bit more about myself and about the college. I hope that many of you have been on the campus tours throughout this year or came early in the year when we had our campus open day. Wow, we were lucky this year that for many people, we were able to hold those things back in term one before we had that first lockdown, if you remember that so long ago. But we've been very fortunate, and thank you for joining and sending your son or daughter to join St Kindergan College in 2022. Now, traditionally, tonight's event would be on site. It would be in Elliott Hall, and it would provide the opportunity for you to meet and greet other families new to the college and some existing families as well, but also to hear from a range of members of our senior leadership team and to a chance to talk to those and our sponsors and those others working in terms of our computer program and support areas. But alas, that's not to be. So we have moved online and we're trying this for the first time. And between Carl and I, forgive us if there's a little pause every now and then if we move from A to B, but we're learning ourselves in the last couple of weeks how we work this new format. And also with that in mind, we've narrowed the focus down to the essentials, what you need to know now in terms of where you're at and coming onto the college. Other things will have an opportunity as we get underway, and we will actually move some of the things we would have said tonight to some meetings at the beginning next year, or we'll communicate them by email or by letter to you, or indeed, we may even have another Teams gathering, who knows. But tonight we're focusing on understanding the use of ICT within the classroom and teaching and learning, and what that means for your son and daughter as they move to join the college next year. We do look forward to meeting all of you in term one of 2022. And also, can I just say there are opportunities to meet with each other in the casual and informal social evenings run by parents and friends. They run special evenings, particularly at year 7 and year 9, which are, of course, our two main entry levels. So there'll be a chance to meet with you face to face if we haven't already done so over the course of this year. Can I also just bring greetings from Ms. Holly Smith from our admissions team, who many of you will have been interviewed with. I know she's listening in together with other members of the college staff just to see how we go tonight. I hope we meet the standard that she expects of ourselves. But thank you for coming along. Just you might be interested to know, today we welcome back on site about 800 students from the college in the middle school, and we've had a chance to talk to them as they've come back. We've had years 8, 9 and 10 back at school, and we had around about 90% attendance across those year groups as we recommenced. It's amazing, you can actually detect their smiles beneath a mask. You can see it in their eyes. And as I was out this morning, as they came off the buses and the cars, and again at lunchtime, just seeing their enthusiasm to be back on site. Lockdown has not been easy for many people. And I equally understand that for some people coming back to school in itself was a challenge. But it's quite encouraging to see the effectiveness that we have done. And I have to say, the use of ICT over the last 13 weeks of distance learning has been essential to retain that engagement. I know just talking to colleagues in other schools that the retention and the ongoing coming back to classes each day at St Kindergan has been significantly better than in some of the other schools where I have friends working. Probably we put that down to the use of ICT and engaging them through online lessons, Teams meetings and other ways that we can talk to them one-on-one or as a class group. So there are many positive things that we can use with technology. But enough of that about what's happened today. And we look forward next week to joining our Year 7s coming on site while our Year 8s will go off site. So things are back in action here. And last week we farewelled our senior school as they went off to their study for NCAA exams and the IB exams. So what does 2022 hold for your son or daughter? Well, firstly, if I can just pause again and say thank you for making the commitment to join our community. A number of you will be existing families. Others will be moving on to join us here at the college from our girls and boys school. And we say welcome to you folk. You know who we are, and we thank you for continuing your journey with your child as you come into the senior years. But I suspect the majority of people who are listening in tonight and watching are actually new to St Ken's. Because if you're already here and you have a son or daughter already in the senior school or higher up in the middle school, perhaps what we're saying is nothing new to you. There's always something new in the technology front, but who we are and what we stand for remains the same. Our core values and who we are the same year on year. So I wouldn't be surprised if a number of parents of existing students who may have younger siblings joining are not with us. I understand that. But I say, sorry again, that our first gathering is a virtual meeting, but we know why that is. And we're going to work through the challenges we have this year and look forward to a fresh start in the beginning of 2022. St Kindergan College is a family. It's a whānau, it's a community. And before I pass over to Mr. Lidstone, I just want to highlight a few key points about who we are. And this won't take long. Can I just say, teaching and learning are central here. What happens in the classroom is our core business. We want the best for your son and daughter to provide them with the understanding, the skills, the capabilities to go on and to move forward in their education post-school. School is important at those years, but equally preparing them for the next stage. So we're always looking beyond the here and now to how best can we prepare our students as they move on. And as I'm sure you've heard at open days, on campus tours and through the literature, 95% of our students will go on to tertiary study, be that in different forms within New Zealand and abroad. So teaching and learning is essential, and it's central to what we do. And technology plays a part for that. And I'll hand over to Mr. Lidstone to talk a bit more about that. But what happens outside the four walls of the classroom is equally important to us, and I suspect to you as a parent, and I'm sure it is to many of the children that you have. What we do outside of the classroom, be that in the performing arts, be that in sport, be that in cultural activities, and be that just in the gatherings around in the playground at lunchtime and its interval. Those opportunities is where friendships, which may last a lifetime, begin. Taking part in activities will teach you many things about yourself and many things about how to work with others. So to us, there's a lot more than just teaching and learning. It's a bigger program. But tonight, I just want to say we are focusing on the essentials, as I said earlier, about ICT and teaching and learning. But please don't pigeonhole us as a school that's narrowly focused on that. Our understanding is that we're there for the whole student, the holistic approach to what they want to do and where we see them moving going forward into their future. The pastoral focus, together with our special character and our Christian heritage, provide the core values of our college. And I could go into these, but tonight that's not the time or the place. But rest assured, who we are in the midst of a changing environment will remain constant. And I hope that's some reassurance to you as for where I sit as the principal of this college. And I've been now at this college for nearly 23 years, sitting in this desk just in the last little while, but also in these kind of functions. As I was the head of middle school, I've been running these functions for about 15, 18 years. So tonight is no different to what we've done in the past. It is just focused on the things that we think are important to communicate via Teams Live. So sit back, enjoy. There is also the opportunity to ask questions through the chat. Thank you for those who have already contributed questions. Mr. Lidstone and I have sat down, he's gone through those, and we've tailored what we've got to say to answer some of those questions that people put through in the survey in the last week. So I just want to say thank you to Carl. He is the head of e-learning. He is a son of Kindergan and a committed member of our staff, and he's going to talk through, with the help of a PowerPoint, some of the key things that you might like to know. obviously, a lot of the information about the student device program has been sent out to you. And I know it's talking to some families already. They've already made that commitment financially and are well aware. But tonight is about making you understand where it fits within who we are and how we can use technology to enhance the learning of your son and daughter. Right, I think that's enough of an introduction from me. I think I get out of the hot seat. I'm going to pass over to Carl now. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Duncan. So there is a question and answer function within this meeting. So if you do have any questions as I'm talking, please put them in there, and at the end, we will try to get to as many of those as you can. Now look, ICT is a large part of our program here at the college, but it is just a tool that is used to assist us with our teaching and learning program. And it's used throughout the school from year 7 all the way through to year 13. Sometimes though, pen and paper is still the best piece of technology. So although we have computers here, there are other means that we do use with our students. So what do we do with our computers here? Every subject is different, how they're going to be used. But some of the common things that we use here are Office 365 and OneNote, which plays a massive part in our teaching and learning program now, along with Microsoft Teams. We use a lot of the Adobe products here through animation, through design. Our students, they're coding, they're collaborating, they're creating. And if you have a look on the screen now, there's a lot of pieces of software that some of you may even use in your own industry. One thing that you will get to know about, if you don't already, is our OLE. Now, the OLE is our online learning environment. It's going to play a large part in the life of you and your child. Now, since your son or daughter is becoming a teenager, it may be the only way that you're actually going to know what's going on in their life at school. On the OLE, there is a timetable, all due work for students is posted. And when work is marked, if it's a common assessment task, you'll find all the grades and comments and rubrics will be on there as well. Now, when your child gets their computer, they will get the login details for that, and you will get your details at that same time for you to log onto that. Now, the students will get an online course that will help them to navigate the OLE. It may be a good idea to sit with them. You have a slightly different view to the students, but just by following what they're doing, it will give you an understanding of how to do it. At all times, if you have any questions about the OLE, please don't hesitate to ask. We're always looking to improve, so please do send any questions to us. Now looking at the device that we are recommending. The device is the Dynabook Toshiba Protege X30. Now this device has 16 gig of RAM, which allows it to run all of those software that I was talking about earlier. It will allow your child to run those. It's very, very flexible, can be used as a tablet as well, and this is the computer that's used by all of our staff, so our staff have a good understanding with it, and most of our students also make use of this device. One of the things that is really critical with this device is, as you can see in the picture, is the stylus pen. So many of our classroom programs now make use of that pen. I'm sure many of you use OneNote in your own life. Having a pen and using OneNote does make life so much easier for our students. Now, you should have received information on how to purchase that computer. All of the orders are done through Cyclone Computers. The link was sent out to you, and we would like all of those orders in by the 22nd. Now, that will help us, 22nd of November, that will help us to get them ready so that they can be sent out. The aim is to deliver them all well and truly before Christmas, so it'll be a little Christmas present for your son and daughter. Now, when you purchase this computer, it comes with a computer bag, And also probably one of the most important parts of it is the 3-year warranty. Now that warranty, it's on top of the normal manufacturer's warranty. It covers wear and tear. So if your child drops their computer, and yes, that does happen, they can take it straight into ICT. ICT will provide a loan computer for them if need be. And we have a contractor on site from Service Plus, and they will fix that computer then and there. And in most cases, most computers can be fixed on that day because we do have parts in stock. So that is a really, really huge advantage of purchasing that package. So do get those orders in as soon as possible so we can get them ready for you. Now I'm just going to have a quick talk about some of the questions that came through. One of the questions that we always get is why a PC and not a Mac? Now, our school, all of our infrastructure, that's the back end, is Windows based. And so it means that the Windows-based computers talk a lot better to it. So they are able to run a lot better in our systems than the Mac counterparts. The Macs have actually changed their chip in them, which does make it a little bit more difficult for them to connect to some of the services that we have. They can still do it, but there may be 1 or 2 programs that can't run in a Windows and in a Mac environment. So that's just something to think about. Things like Adobe. It's having a wife who uses the Adobe products. I know full well now that they work just as well on Windows. In fact, they're designed better for Windows than they do on a Mac. So, most of those things are no longer relevant. One of the other advantages for the Windows computers is the digitizer pen. If you've never used a digitizer pen, I recommend that you go and get one. Once you've used it, you'll never go back. So having that functionality on a Windows computer, is second to none. Now with programs like OneNote and the likes, then they're definitely going to be needed. And the further up the school they get, becomes more imperative that they can do those design kinds of things that way. One of the other advantages with going through for a Windows computer, more so the one that we recommend is the loan computers, and it's really, really beneficial if your child, if there's damage to that computer, getting it fixed and getting that loan computer, because it means that they're not without a device. And as a teacher, there's nothing worse than when I'm doing animation with a class and a child comes to class and doesn't have that computer. So that is, it is a real bonus for that. Now, you can still use Macs. There is a setup cost for that, and if you do want to go down that path, please contact ICT as soon as you can. I would recommend, though, if you are going to go down that path, that you do look at one of the Wacom tablets so that your child still has that ability to use a pen. Not quite the same as a Windows computer, but it still works quite well. One of the other questions that we get is, how do we protect our child? And look, I'll be honest, there is no way that any system can 100% protect your child. That it's a partnership between you, your child, and us as a school. Now, what we do have is we have a firewall here that will make sure that most websites that you don't want your child to go to cannot get through our system. But we know from experience that children are very adept at finding ways around it. I'm sure you can find that at home. So that's not going to protect your child 100%. So alongside that, our PE and health department, they do units on digital citizenship, where we teach our students how to behave online. But it is a partnership. We all need to be doing that job with our students to help them self-manage the devices. Now, one of the other questions we had is about cell phones. Now, we don't allow our students to have cell phones out here at the college unless it is being used for a teaching and learning task, for instance, taking photos, taking videos that they may be using for different things. We can't control cell phones once they are on the bus, at home, that's, we can't really do much about that. So again, that's where we all need to play our part in talking to the students, to your children about, what is right in that. So it is definitely a partnership for all of us. Now, how long do the computers last? That's a really good question. Mr. McQueen, he's had 2 children that have come through the college. One that lasted all the way, the computer lasted all the way to year 13.
7 years.
7 years, he's telling me, and another one that did get a new one. Now, your child may get a computer in year 7. And if that is the case, from year 7 all the way through to year 13 can be a long time for a device. Yes, they will last, but it can depend on how they're treated and also on the subjects that they are going to do. As I said, I teach animation. Often in about 4 years' time, most of the programs we use become a lot more they need more RAM in that, and so often at that point, yes, a student may need a new device when they get into the senior school. But for most of our students, the device that they purchase in year 9, year 7, should last them all the way through. We do have a buyback scheme after 3 years that we actually do look at purchasing back the computers, so that we can use them for parts, and you'll get a letter at that point. So they can last all the way through, but it does really depend on their pathway of where they are going to go. Now, if you are coming from the girls and boys school, good news, you don't need to do anything. The device or year 7 and 8, the device that you have got just works straight away, works seamlessly when it comes on to the college. So nothing needs to be done from that aspect. Now, I'm just going to quickly ask Mr. McQueen if any other questions have come through in the chat, and hopefully if there is, we may be able to ask those. Otherwise, I'm going to pass back over to him.
Actually, we've only had one question. It was about using a MacBook Pro in senior years, and I've answered it. You have just addressed that in terms of the pluses and minuses. Yep,
so yes, definitely can be used. As I would recommend, if you are going to go down that path, that you do get a Wacom tablet, so that if you're doing the design subjects, you can use those. Definitely. All right, well, I'm now going to pass you back to Mr. McQueen, who will just finish this evening. Hopefully we've done quite good time. But if there are any other questions that come through now, we will get onto them, or we can get back to you. Thank you.
All right. Just to change the scene live, I think.
You want to go forward?
Gone live yet? Yeah, I think it just takes a while to switch the screens around and do that. Hey, look, I just want to pick up a few things from what Carl said and actually say a little bit more there. And thank you for joining us tonight. As I said, we aim for be about 30 minutes, and I think we're on about 24, 25 now, so we're on time in that sense. I do just want to pause for a few final thoughts and just take the opportunity to say thank you to Carl Lidstone, firstly, for all the work and support, and for his vision and for his understanding. He is what I would class a super user within our community. And I have to say, he's been a saint in our lockdown. Certainly last year, as many of our staff, as we move into a lockdown environment and having to do distance learning, he was the man they turned to. And you can see why, because of his level of understanding and his ability to communicate in a way that most of us can understand, which is no mean feat for those of us who have not grown up with technology at our fingertips. Also, I do want to acknowledge and possibly listening as Mr. Walter Chen, too, a director of ICT across the organisation, and his role in the supporting of this. I recall when I joined this college back in the late 1990s, the use of laptop computers was brand new, and St Kilda was at the forefront in the introduction of those. I can remember when they weighed about twice the weight they are now, and they cost twice the price. I know that from experience from my first child, 2 boys, when they joined the college at year 7 and year 9. It was no mean investment, eye-watering, when I put over $3,500 for each computer on the top of my old mortgage to get them sorted out and going. And as Carl said, for one of them, and maybe it's my Scottish heritage, but his computer lasted all the way through. Whew. The other one, yeah, maybe he didn't look after as well as he could have done, but also he wanted to refresh later on in his time at the college to make use of it as he went into university. My daughter, likewise, hers went from year 7 and lasted through to year 12. Again, just put it down to good care and wear. But again, she decided to change and took her next computer on into university. So to Walter for your support behind the scenes, for Carl for your support tonight, and for Holly and her team in terms of our missions. For those who, and we're speaking to the people who are new to our community tonight, and thank you for joining us. But thank you to Holly and the work of the admissions team to getting people invited to join this evening. So I appreciate that. I just want to finish on saying, Carl picked up about the purpose of teaching and learning, and we can use it inside and outside the classroom. A lot of communication occurs between student to student for collaboration, but also between coach and managers and teams. The use of the OLE has enabled us to communicate through to our students in our sports teams and our performing arts teams. It is an essential part of their daily life. I'd be very surprised if there isn't a student at the college who doesn't log into the OLE daily. In fact, while they're in a lockdown, they had to. It was one of our easy ways of monitoring who was online, who was engaging with our teaching and learning. And we made that the easiest way. Rather than trying to do a roll check in a Teams meeting and calling out names off a list, we just knew as soon as they logged in, we could pick up that data and know who's been involved in the teaching and learning for the day. So to me, the use of technology is a wonderful thing. It's enabled us to do so much in the time I've been at the college, but also we've seen with distance learning, it has put us at the forefront and enabled us to teach and learn in a way which is different, engaging, and also it has that personality in people. Come back to one of the comments Carl made, and maybe a couple of parents be concerned, well, my child's just growing up. What about filters? What about keeping an eye on things to make sure they're safe? I've got to say to you, the best filter I've ever seen is in here and in there. It's what's between their ears and what's in their heart, because we can teach them all the right things, but actually at the end of the day, as I've said to students in assemblies, the grandma test is a good one. Would you be happy with grandma to see what you've just put on the web? And I think even adults need to keep that in mind. And I think in the times of COVID, there's some people who are making a bad use of social networks. I won't go there. That's another topic, and I'm off task if I veer into those grounds, and I may cause offence. But I'd just like to say, we take our responsibility as guardians of your sons and daughters while they're on campus to look after them. But ultimately, what we want to teach them is not what to click on or not to click on, but what to think and what to value. If we can bring those things into their life, then I think we've done something which is meaningful, and I hope in line with your own values and expectations. St. Kindergan is far more than just ICT, digital technology. It is about a community where we have respect for one another and an understanding. So thank you for joining us tonight. I don't know, Carl, if there's any final questions that come through?
There are. I'll try and answer them in the chat.
Oh, he's trying to answer them. Well, I'm not sure if I can keep going much longer, Carl, and I'm sure we're probably at the time when it might be time to head away for a cup of coffee. But please keep in touch. If you've got any questions, do get in contact with the school, particularly if they relate to the ICT program. A lot of information is sent out. And tonight was just an opportunity for you to put some faces to names that you may have heard. And as we move forward into 2022, we're looking forward to a COVID-free start to the year. Hey, I said that this time last year, and look where we've been this year. We cannot guarantee the future. What we guarantee is to be here and to be there for your sons and daughters and for our colleagues and be the family that we can be together at St. Kindergan. So thank you for joining us tonight. Carl's just going to take over and say a couple of things.
Okay, so getting quite a few questions through. So what I'll try and do is I'll try and answer those on here, saving me having to type them. So just let me move this. Okay. All right. So, okay. So some of the questions I'll try and answer them here. That way, the questions just loading on this device. One of the questions was some of them were about coming back from the boys' school. Hopefully, I've asked that. Let's see. We've got here our daughter just finished off year 13. Can our son use it? Yes, we have had that in the past. Best to contact ICT because it will need to be set up for them if they have got an older computer. Are the updates to the device pushed centrally by the school? Yes, most devices, most of the updates are pushed centrally by the school. Obviously, with 2,000 students, we have to manage that carefully. So yes, that does happen. Do existing Escape students and parent, the login details just transfer over to the college. So if you're from the Boys and Girls School, you don't need to worry about any other OLE details. Just one thing you'll need to know is it's not called OLE at the college, it's called OLE, so that's one little change. Do we need to buy a laptop if we already have one that fits the criteria? No, you don't need to buy a laptop if it already fits that criteria. You can bring it in. Just make sure you contact ICT and let them know, because they will have to set that computer up so that it does work on our network. Yes, the computer does come with the stylus, so everything you see there, it does come with that. So the bag, the stylus, the laptop, and the warranty when you purchase it through Cyclone. Can our son use his own existing laptop? Yes, of course. Just make sure, what we recommend is that if you use the device specifications and make sure that it does match that, then the computer should be fine that you already have. Orders need to be in by the 22nd of November to make sure that we can get them all fulfilled in time. So even if you're not going to be purchasing it, can you please make sure that you let ICT know that, that's the way you're going to go, because we do want to make sure that every student who does come in at the beginning of next year, that they actually have a device ready to go. Yes, Surface Laptop 3 is fine to use. Again, contact ICT just to make sure that that it's going to work on the network. One thing is that they do need to have Windows Professional. That's one thing that we do need to make you aware of, that if you are going to be using them. But for most of the computers that you're talking about, you can actually purchase a license for a Windows Professional license so that it can connect to our network correctly. I think I've answered that one. A lot of questions about, do you need to worry about purchasing a new one if you did purchase one at the girls' school, the boys' school? Just remember that if you purchase one at the girls' school, there are going to be a lot of students coming through from our own year 7 and 8 that are going to have exactly that same device. So next year there will be students who have the new Dynabook, and there will be some that have a Dynabook that is 2 years old. So that is fine for them to use that. And one of the questions was about the RAM and the screen size. I'm pretty sure that the device that you're talking about will have exactly the same screen size. The RAM, possibly, it should be the same. Look, the RAM really becomes an issue when they're starting to do some of the technology subjects, or with some of the science one with the software they use. 16 gig is recommended for most of the Adobe products, so it's when they start to use those, that's when they really need that RAM. But it still works on less RAM, it's just a little bit slow, and we do know that our students can be a little bit impatient. Yep, again, the
I can talk about our intimidation.
Yeah, just do contact ICT. They will probably be busy at the moment with as you can imagine, with a lot of people calling them, so they will get back to you if they haven't. Orientation Day, Mr. McQueen, what's happening with an Orientation Day?
Well, let's slide. We'll have the two of us here. Hey, look, we haven't made a decision yet on that, but it is increasingly likely, given the restrictions in Auckland, that even if we move to the traffic light system, we'd need to be, down at the orange or green to have students on site from a number of different schools coming to our environment. And as you can appreciate as a parent, that's probably not what you want as for your son and daughter. So we're hesitant to say no, because we really don't know what the next couple of weeks hold. But at this point, the date is still down for the 9th of December, but realistically there'd have to be quite a change in the Auckland the environment within Auckland for us to go ahead with that. We will certainly confirm that 2 weeks prior if we're going to do it. If we do need to postpone it, then we may do the testing at the beginning of the year. It just makes it slightly more difficult for us, as you can appreciate, doing class placements without having common tests across everyone. But we have ways to do that. We've done that in the past, and if necessary, we will do it next year. Thanks.
Okay, so after buying the device, loading other software. Look, once you buy the device, it is your device. you can put whatever software on there that you like. I would recommend just monitor what games they're putting on them. That would be the one thing that I would say. We had a question about how do we keep our students safe. Well, on our network, we can do a lot, but if they've got a standalone game on there, there's not much that we can do about that in class, and that's where teaching comes in and making sure that our students are engaged. But yeah, it is your device. You can put software on there. Just one thing: do not uninstall the antivirus on there, because obviously it comes with antivirus while they're here at the college, and that's one thing that does need to stay on there. Uniform shop open in Jan. I would assume so, because I'm sure there are a lot of people doing that. Most of the college opens up around about the 10th of January, so I would say the uniform shop will be opening at that point as well. Yep, they'll have their own email address, and it's how they'll log into their computer. The OLE is how we tend to communicate with the students and parents, and we use Teams in a slightly different way. So the OLE isn't as interactive as Teams and OneNote. So what will happen is that most of the teachers will set all the due work on the OLE. They'll also put like an overview of what's happening in the year, but then they'll use Teams for that day-to-day. Now, you won't be involved in that day-to-day stuff, but you will be involved in the bigger picture with that. We are using Windows 10 at this stage. There's still a bit of testing to make sure all of our systems will work with Windows 11. So at this stage, most of these computers will be Windows 10, especially since it's only just been released. So there is a little bit that we have to testing that we do in the back end to make sure that it's going to work how we want. Let's see, Surface Pro. Yep, that's fine. I think we're hopefully getting to the end. Where can you place the order? Okay, very, very good question. You should have received an email. Now, that email had a link to a website that is hosted by Cyclone Computing. And you go onto there, follow the instruction on there. There's more information about the device on there. So if you click on that link, if you don't have that email, then please email us or email admissions, and they can send that out to you. I wouldn't recommend upgrading the window to Windows 11 at this stage. Just to make sure that we know that all of our software works. I know with teaching with a lot of the Adobe products, if you upgrade to the newer version of Windows, you have to upgrade your version of the Adobe products, and we have had some issues where the likes of InDesign isn't backwards compatible, and then and then you have to have two different versions for the students to work on. So at this stage, I would just hold off on upgrading to Windows 11. Yep, again, most computers will work. Just contact ICT. Okay, Wacom tablet. I would, depending on what year they're in, I would just recommend one of the small ones. Just easier to take around the college. You can get a small, medium, or large. We have some large ones here at the college that we use for different subjects. But most of the students that I ask them to just look for one of the smaller ones. They're normally PV Technology have them. They tend to be around about $100. If you get a Bluetooth one, that's even better, because then you don't need to plug it in. But that would be what I'd recommend for those. I wouldn't. I'd probably say that's probably more for the Year 9s than the Year 7s at this stage. But by all means, if you are going to bring in a non-compatible computer, a Mac, then your child may want to get used to using that even earlier. Yes, they can use another Windows-based device.
Crack screen is the next issue.
To be used. Do you expect the 2020 MacBook Airs will be able to be used? Yes, we do, because I don't want anyone who has already purchased a Mac not to be able to use it at all. As I say, I would say at this stage, like most of the major software is compatible for both. It will just be some of the software that may be used in science, and that tends to only be used more in the senior college than the middle college. So they should be fine with that. So yeah, I don't think there'll be any issues with using a 2020 or 21 MacBook. In fact, if it's got the old chip, it would actually be easier because you can actually put Windows on it and it connects fine. Just one other thing about the Macs is that all of our printing systems are done through Windows, and so there are issues with printing with Mac, although we are trying to get the kids away from printing, slow process, but a lot less printing now than there ever has been. A cracked shell, yes, a cracked shell will be covered. Cracked screens are covered.
Excess, $100?
Yeah, there's $100 excess on that. Most things are covered when they do it. Now, of course, if they do willful damage and it's done, and it can be proved that that's done, then of course that doesn't get covered. But for those general little things, most things are covered on that, and that's why I say, look. I've got a daughter going into year 9. I know that she wants a Mac, but I will definitely be getting her this device because that warranty is just, it really is a huge selling point for it. Still getting a few more questions in. What percentage of students use Macs? Good question. I would say probably 10%, maybe less than 10% would use Macs. My animation class, not one Mac is used at all. They all use Windows devices. So yeah, the majority of students here use Windows PCs. Okay.
Walter just mentioned what's covered and not covered on the insurance is on the website.
So yeah, just what is covered is for the warranty is actually on the website. So do have a look at that. So do you see more challenges for kids if they use a Mac? Do I see more challenges? I suppose one of the things is because of all of our teachers tend to use Windows PCs, they're able to help the students a lot more with PC problems. I know I get a lot of questions from my wife who uses Mac all the time, and I basically have to go hands off on that one. She's probably listening right now to this live feed, so I'm probably going to get in trouble when I get home. But it is easier for our staff to troubleshoot if need be. But most of the students they're pretty adept at using them. So look, if you're from a Mac family and your children use Macs all the time, then look, they're going to be fine for that. But I would, I think as I say, that warranty is amazing, and the fact that they can just go in and get a loan computer if need be. What accessories are recommended for year 7? I would probably look at definitely a mouse. And I mean, a big screen is always, that for home is always recommended. They are only a 13.1 inch screen. So having a screen at home, if they're going to be doing lots of work, does help, and teaching them how to duplicate, use the screen to have 2 different windows on will be a godsend, I'm sure. So yeah, probably just definitely a mouse and a screen if need be. To purchase a computer, to purchase a computer again, go to that email, all the details are in there. There's a question about orientation day. Obviously that's not going to be happening at this stage, or probably not going to be happening. If it's so a question about if you bring your own laptop. So you do need to contact ICT, because we do need to still install software on it to make sure that it connects to our network. So please, if you are not going to be purchasing the computer, please contact IT. You'll need to arrange a time to get that computer in. At that point, they will install Office, they will install Creative Cloud, the Adobe products, they will install all of those software onto the computer. So please make sure you do make a time to do that. And look, having worked in ICT, I know that the turnaround when everyone brings their computers in 5 days before ICT closes, just before Christmas, and want it back the next day, it doesn't happen. There can be up to a 2-week turnaround if we have quite a few computers in. So do get in early, please, but contact ICT. When will the boys who are going to boarding be able to visit Mr. McQueen?
Contact admissions. It won't be until the start of next year.
Yeah, probably the start of next year. So do contact admissions for that.
Yeah.
Can we set up parenting ones to stop gaming. The student is actually the admin on that computer. Could you do that? Yes, you could. I'm not quite sure if that would have any impact when we try to change things, if they've taken into IT and you have that admin rights, because yeah, that may cause some issues. That definitely contact ICT about that one. But yes, I would. I suppose the first thing is obviously trying to talk to your child about it. If you do have any issues, look, do contact us. We can help. And I know Mr. Tucker, head of counselling, has lots of resources online for those kinds of things.
You could go on tonight, Cole. There's a lot of questions.
There does seem to be a lot of questions. I'm going to try and. So I've covered about pre-installed software. If you are going to bring your own tablet, yes, I would recommend that it definitely has a
headphones was one thing that's come up
stylus.
a couple of times about having it being particularly useful in lockdown.
Yeah. Oh, look, definitely headphones for sure is definitely something that I would.
They won't use it during class time necessarily, but
no. Sometimes we'll use it in class depending on what they're doing. I've just published in the chat a link. Someone, thank you to whoever the anonymous person who put the link into the purchase website there. That should be in your chat now under the published.
And they're going to record this after we watched it.
Yeah, it is recorded. You should be able to watch this again. And let's have a look. To use again, there's one about a part of the home domain. Again, contact ICT would be the best people for that. Look, I'm going to just probably ask a couple more questions, otherwise we might be here. No, normal tablet probably won't work because it does need to be running a full version of Windows.
Full warranty covers 3 years, doesn't it?
Yep, the warranty is a 3-year warranty. Let's see.
Where exactly is uniform shop? Just come into the main reception.
Come to the main reception. So a question about an iPad. iPads won't work on our system, so they won't be able to be used. A non-touch laptop, look, it does work. It's just when it comes to OneNote that's where the stylus comes in. So I mean, most laptops you buy now, they are touch computers. So anyone Chromebooks, we don't do Chromebooks here. They do have to be a Windows computer running Windows 10 Pro. Can you, when are we able to pick that? So it's all the devices are meant to be shipped. All that's done through Cyclone, so we don't actually, we do that, but they're all meant to be shipped once the orders are done. Early December is the goal. So yeah, definitely you should get your device before the Christmas. Accessories.
Take advice, eh?
Yeah, I think we'll. Okay, anything we can help avoid students playing games or on YouTube during classes. Look, YouTube obviously is available for our students because we use that. Playing games, again, if they don't have them set up, look. The way that a firewall works is basically anything that is online we can monitor. If it is a game that they have loaded onto their own computer, it's a little bit hard to do it. Now, I'm not saying all of my classes are incredibly exciting, but if my class is engaged, because the lessons are engaging for them, then I tend to find they're not going to be on the games. Although I must admit that my year 8s today, they were on Minecraft because we were doing coding in Minecraft. But look, it is a real hard one with games. If there are issues, then that's where our heads of house come in and they deal with that in a pastoral way. I've answered about the boys' school computers. No, they just come straight away. Look, I'm gonna leave it there. There are a few more questions. I'll try and see if I can go through and answer some of those. But other than that, we'll say goodbye now. But thank you so much, and thank you for the questions. A lot more there than I thought, but hopefully we've answered most of those for you. So I'll just pass back to Mr. McQueen.
And I get to be in the hot seat as we close off. Thank you, Carl. Look, there's lots of good questions there. I have to say, as a parent, I have been an avid supporter of the student notebook program. All three of my two sons and daughters had their computers through this program. And I think Carl's right, that assurance that the warranty's there for 3 years and you've got a swap out computer version, and knowing that if they had problems, we could go on site. And I have to say, as a teacher, probably the most reassuring thing is when they all have similar models and understanding, I know they can get to it easy. So please be aware of that. Carl mentioned up to 10%. Some classes I've taught, it's been down to 0. Everyone has had the school computer. It makes life. It's about 5 to 10% at the maximum. Also, just to come through from Mr. Chen, the computers will be delivered in the first 2 weeks of December. So it'll all be pre-Christmas and in your hands and your child's hands to unwrap and to use. It might save you having to buy other Christmas presents because you can't get out to the mall, or you don't want to risk going to the mall at this time. Hey, thank you very much. Hey, look, I'm really impressed that over 230 of you have stayed online to go through and listen to all these questions. I have to say, probably for some of the other questions, do direct them to two main people to go to. Look at the information posted out to you. The ICT department or admissions. They'd be the folks I'd be looking to answer many other questions. Hey, can I just say thank you again on behalf of the college for joining us tonight. We're going to head off home now and hopefully enjoy our meal and maybe have some non-screen time, but I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we look forward to meeting you in person at the start of 2022. So it's good night from us. Thank you. Good night. I'll fade away into the distance as he